Falcon fans, my name is Todd Walker, the radio voice of the Falcons. We're here at the SIBO Center, the Wilcox Boardroom. This is Athletics Director Chris Kingston, and it's great to have you with us on Falcon View. The fall sports season is about to get underway as we record this, and we want to talk football, but before we do that, let's talk about the entire scope of fall sports here at BGSU. A lot of exciting things going on. Your thoughts, overview of the programs as we come into fall.
Hey, before we do that, I want to ask you, when did you know you wanted to do this for a living? Because your voice is fantastic.
It was, I don't really remember, to be honest with you. I couldn't do anything else. So you know how it is. It's
pretty good.
I ended up here and talking with you, and that's the way, it turned out pretty good for me.
It wasn't on the script.
Right.
Hey, so, I'm incredibly excited, as always, about what we have going on. Just had a couple of women's soccer scrimmages. Volleyball's getting started. Of course, we're out here with football. A lot of our winter teams getting back and working out. So, getting ready to talk to the new freshman class and get them all excited about BGSU and our athletics specifically. And I couldn't be more excited about what's about to happen this year.
No doubt that this time of season is exciting for everybody with all the new students coming in and the school year beginning. And football is, of course, the main focus a lot of times, and the Falcon Fast moniker with Coach Babers has brought a lot of excitement. Before we talk specifically about that, are you able to see practice a lot here in this camp? Are you able to go out here on the grass fields and watch a lot of time?
I am. It's great. I mean, it's fantastic having everything right here, and I get down there as much as I can. I think it's important that they see me out there, understanding what they're going through, finishing up their two-a-days, and getting ready to beat Western Kentucky. It's been a great camp, and as you mentioned, practicing out here on the grass.
Yeah, what is the, I guess, thought process behind that? I know Coach Babers obviously wanted that to be done, but your thoughts on that? And it obviously makes a little more work for the grounds crew because they haven't had to really do that for a while. But talk about the move to practicing on grass and not using the field turf at Dewey Perry Stadium.
Yeah, and again, this grass that's out here right behind us hasn't been used anytime recently. So as soon as the snow melted and the ground thawed, we soaked it and rolled it with an actual steam roller. The grounds guys, the fields and facilities folks on campus have done a tremendous job of getting this thing ready for fall camp or for our fall camp right now and then for the season. I would tell you that if you talk to Coach, he'll tell you that he likes the grass because it's imperfect, and it's not true, and you have to be more perfect in the way you cut and the way your footwork. And he would tell you that it's slower and it's harder, and so the philosophy there is the better work we get on the grass, the faster we'll be when we get to the turf.
Well, no doubt we'll get a chance to see that, and coming up in less than 2 weeks. Around college football, especially other off-field stuff has really dominated the landscape over the summer. The so-called autonomy for the Big Five conferences, and the other conference is now called the Other Five, or the Gang of Five, or however you want to put it, with this college football playoff. Your overview on that as far as how it affects Bowling Green and schools in the Mid-American Conference and schools like Bowling Green?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and it's probably longer than we can answer on just the Falcon View, but there's the 10 FBS football conferences of the past. The old Division 1A football we're all calling it right now the Power Five and the Group of Five, and the new changes and the new governance is the legislative autonomy. That's what the Power Five has asked for, is that they can make and pass rules and vote on things without anybody else. Even in the non-football schools or the old FCS or 1AA schools, without anybody else voting, they want to pass legislation. And that legislation that they would pass will be permissive, which means we can or cannot, we can choose to participate.
Okay.
So what does that mean for Bowling Green? What does that mean for the MAC? And I think that there's a couple things that are critically important. The number one thing to me in all of this, more so than the impacts of the money, are the impacts of rosters. And as long as they don't affect, and there's no legislation that's allowed to be passed that affects a roster limit. So if you can only have 85 football players, if you can only continue to have 9.9 men's scholarships for men's soccer, then we continue to compete as we are today. There are some negative impacts if those that can do with more money can do more with more money, but that's the world we operate in now. I think you'll find that as this goes along, there's a lot of unknowns, but within the Power Five, there are haves and have-nots. There are those with $60 million budgets and those with $120 million budgets, and then there's those in the MAC and the Conference USA, Mountain West, American, and Sun Belt that have anywhere from a $20 to $35 million budget. So the discrepancy amongst the Power Five when it comes down to what can you actually do is probably greater than it is in the Group of Five as it relates to the Power Five and the ability to beat them. I would tell you this, last year we won 7 contests against Power Five teams, and of those 7 wins, 5 of those came against schools such as Ohio State, Michigan State, and Michigan. So when we have a basketball team that can beat Michigan on the road twice, or once on the road and once at home, and Ohio State on the road, and we have soccer teams that can tie those same teams, and a hockey team that can beat Ohio State, we can compete, and it's bigger than just football. This isn't just about football. But I go back to the roster limit, and if you don't change that 85, then those schools may be competing against each other for the same kids. There's only so many kids you can get, so many student athletes, and we still attract elite Division I student athletes here, and I'm excited about the way ahead.
Yeah, if you go back into the old school machine, back in the day when the big schools would literally put 120 guys on scholarship, it really reduced the number of kids that were available at the Mid-American Conference level perhaps, and now down to 85, many people count. They say that's a big reason why there's become a little bit of parity, at least in college football.
Right, and you talk about you mentioned the college football playoff system. As we opened into that era, at the end of the day, there's going to be 35 or 36 bowls, and of that, there's going to be 6 host bowls. And those 6 host bowls are the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, what am I forgetting here? The Fiesta Bowl, and I think I left one more out. But those 6 bowls, every year, 2 of them will be the playoff bowls. So let's just say, for instance, in any given year, the Rose Bowl and the Cotton Bowl, that leaves 4 other host bowls, which was the old BCS system.
Yeah.
And then of the Group of 5, Mountain West, MAC, American, Sun Belt, and Conference USA, they're going to have 5 conference champions in football. The highest ranked conference champion, as ranked by the College Football Playoff Committee, the highest ranked champion of those 5 is guaranteed a position in one of those four host bowls. So I think our future is fine. We will continue to, you saw the AP poll that came out, the preseason AP poll. There's not a single Group of 5 team in the top 25. That's fine. We'll see how it all adds up at the end of the year.
And some would argue there's even more access to one of those big money bowls that you were just talking about than there was in the BCS, the old system, because one is guaranteed out of those 5 champions.
That's right. So when you stack up those 6 host bowls, that's 12 teams. So one plays 4 and 2 plays 3, and the 2 in their leaves 4. So 5 through 12 are playing in those 4, right?
Yep.
And so a guarantee of one team from the Group of 5 is in. So either they don't have to be ranked. They don't have to be ranked in the top 12. They don't even have to be ranked in the top 25. They could be ranked as getting votes, and if they're the best champion, they're going to play in a host bowl. So we have access as a Division I football program, and like I said before, it's bigger than that. I don't want to get wrapped up in that. We're just concentrating on making rules about football and not forget about that we have a women's basketball team that won 30 basketball games last year, and not forget about teams that are in the conference that have gone on to win national championships. So very proud of the MAC and very proud of being a Falcon. And it's at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of unknowns. There'll be some unintended second and third order effects that'll fall out from it, but we're going to be okay.
We continue with Falcon View with Athletics Director Chris Kingston. We've heard a lot of talk about the cost of attendance, the real cost of attendance, and an additional stipend that is likely to be happening. Is that something Bowling Green and MAC schools will be able, or will have to do, or will want to do? Characterize it. Yeah,
I will. That's a great one. It's another one that's very popular out to be talked about. Along with the legislative autonomy, the new governance model, I do believe that the cost of attendance will be in play beginning on August 1st, 2015. I think there'll be a lot of dialogue this year to define exactly what it is. Is it going to be a set number? Are we going to follow a variable model where each school has a certain number that we've declared as our cost of attendance? Cost of attendance to be further defined as, you know, transportation costs, laundry, basically our cost of living adjustment depending on what school you go to. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about that. The MAC has formed a task force. Heather Like, who's the AD at Eastern Michigan, is our chair for that, and John Steinbrecher, he's been on the, he's done an article a couple days back, a week ago, talking about our position, and we're trying to define exactly what it is. I would tell you that at the end of the day, I believe that this is going to be a $700,000 or $800,000 new cost for Bowling Green State University, and it's a cost that I've got to figure out how to fund. I believe that when the cost of attendance is put into play, a full scholarship or the full grant and aid plus the cost of attendance will now be the full scholarship. And then if we just have the grant and aid and don't do the cost of attendance, we'll only be offering about 85% of what a full scholarship. So it's something that I've talked about with our board of trustees and I've talked about with our president, and it's just something that we're going to have to figure out how to be competitive in that. And it's all about student welfare. It's about, you know, these men and women that put in the time to their sport in addition to their studies. Sometimes prohibits them from having an opportunity to get a job, and that's what it's all about, is how do we help them sustain while they're here going through the university.
Is that cost of attendance something that will go over all sports? Maybe not just at Bowling Green, but is that how it'll work pretty much across the board?
Those are the things throughout this year that you know, we'll have to see how it's further defined. It'll be one of those pieces of permissive legislation, I believe, that you can choose to participate or not, and then to what level. Is it everybody? Is it those on scholarship, and what percentage thereof? So those are things I think will be ironed out this year, and you know, we're leaning forward in our budget trying to figure it out.
Well, I guess with that in mind, Chris, we'll wrap up on a note that will help those coffers. Season ticket sales for football, we've surpassed last year, had already a couple of weeks ago. We anticipate some great crowds here at the Doit this season for Falcon Fast.
Absolutely, and I would tell you that I'm very proud of our men on the field and the men and women and the staff and our fans for you know, voting with your checkbook and coming out and supporting, like you said, our season ticket sales and then our single game sales. And you know, it's about the environment to come in here and show what we can do with the Falcon Fast. And I can tell you that it's something that if you haven't seen it, you're going to want to be a part of it. And it's been an exciting campaign leading up to you know, when we come in here, go down to Western Kentucky and then come in here with VMI, and just really excited about the whole Falcon Fast, the culture in the locker room, what's going on, basically taking a good team to be a great team.
Speaking of season tickets, Chris, I know they had an event this past weekend, and you have a new, I don't know, a hand gesture or something to cheer on the Falcons. You invented a new thing here?
Well, I didn't invent it. This is a grassroots initiative by the Falcon Fanatics. They get the credit.
Wow.
Actually, our women's swimming and diving team had started a hand signal of a talon, and then the Falcon Fanatics, they grew it like this, the talons of the falcon. Did you know the falcon is the fastest animal in the world?
Fittingly.
Right, so very Falcon fast.
Yes.
So anyway, the talons, and we're going with talons up. And so when you come into the stadium
Talons
and you see
up.
a fellow Falcon around, it's just like this, talons up.
That's an order, talons up. The fall sports season's about to begin here at BGSU. Glad you could join us for Falcon View. He's Athletic Director Chris Kingston. My name's Todd Walker. We'll see you here at the Doit.